Okay, last episode. In the previous episode, we determined that God is a cat. Now, we're going to finish off the hat. Not the cat in the hat, just the hat. Okay, argument for God. Evolution, more like evolution. That's obnoxious, fuck you. You're just mocking. That's not really an argument. Argument for the existence of God. If there's no God, then who wrote the Bible? I don't know if that's a real argument or just a joke argument, but I heard it. I heard it online somewhere. So, people. I mean, I don't know anybody who thinks that God personally wrote the Bible. I mean, there are plenty of people who think that God inspired the Bible, but he didn't actually write it. And if he didn't inspire it, then whoever wrote it just wrote it uninspired. Simple as that. Okay. Argument for the existence of God. The Quran. Hey, the Muslims are chiming in! The Quran predicted that the universe was expanding before that was known to science. How did the writers of the Quran, presumably Muhammad, know that the universe was expanding before it was discovered unless God revealed that fact to him? I'm not touching this one. No, I'll answer this one. Could have been a lucky guess. I mean, the universe could be expanding, contracting, or staying the same. And again, this could be just a broad interpretation. I mean, saying something like, the sky is grown, could be interpreted to mean the universe is expanding, but let's just say that it was intended that way. Could be expanding, could be contracting, could be staying the same. That's a 1 in 3 chance. Could have got it right. But there were other things that were wrong. I mean, like, it's impossible to mix fresh water with seawater. I mean, that's incorrect. I mean, so really, we're just talking about a blind squirrel getting a nut occasionally. Okay, next argument. Argument against God. Patriarchy. Religion is patriarchal and God is male, and feminists don't like that. This is fucking ridiculous. I mean, apparently these people have never heard of Dianic feminist Wicca, okay? There are female interpretations of God. There are goddess worshippers. There are female-dominated religious organizations, okay? Consider them before you just say, oh, fuck all religion because, men run them. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, first of all, I don't think that many people are really saying specifically that God is male in the sense of, like, having a penis and a Y chromosome. I think that when we talk about God as Father and Lord, I think that we're just using the language of the time. I mean, people in the old days used the male gender nouns and pronouns just as a default. I mean, in the old days, he meant he or she, essentially. I mean, in fact, in the old days, a lot of the gender terms were different. I mean, boy meant servant, not male. Girl meant baby, not female. Girls wore blue, boys wore pink. It changed the rules a lot. I mean, it's like, we used to say gay pride parade, now we say the gay and lesbian pride parade. Like, well, doesn't the word gay include lesbians? No, apparently we changed our minds. It used to include them, and now we need another word. In fact, in the old Greek text, the Holy Spirit, the third person of the Trinity, was described in the feminine, was described as she. I mean, but suddenly we're just going to decide that because somewhere along the line somebody translated it as he, now we're going to say, oh, God is male, so fuck God, because we don't like men. No, men are evil. No, that's stupid. Okay, argument for the existence of God. Nebulas. Basically, that nebulas are beautiful. That's kind of subjective, isn't it? I mean, in your opinion, nebulas are pretty. Yeah, hermit crabs are ugly. Big deal. Okay, next one. Argument against the existence of God. Doomsday didn't happen. Oh, when all those religious people were predicting the end of the world, it didn't happen! All those religious people? Seem like only a handful, really. You think there's life elsewhere in the universe, on other planets? I think most reasonable people could say, yes, there's probably life on other planets. Now suppose I just run out into the street and say, the spaceship is gonna land now! Oh, I was wrong, and then I go away. Would that suggest to you that there's no life on other planets? Would that even be a factor in your consideration? No, because I'm just a lone nut. In the year 2011, there was this guy, put up a billboard, said the end of the world is coming. Didn't happen. This billboard got a lot of popularity on the internet. Not with Christians, with atheists. Pretty much every atheist heard about this, and not that many Christians heard about it. So when the end of the world didn't happen, they were going, hey, Christians, your end of the world didn't happen. What end of the world? There were atheists hanging outside of a Catholic church. This was the rapture. Catholics don't even believe in the rapture. A lot of them haven't even heard of it. They're going, hey, your rapture didn't happen like you said it was going to. And there were Catholics walking out of the church going, what? What rapture? What? What's he talking about? We just act like every lone nut is a religious authority now? Oh, he had money to afford a billboard. He must be the leader of the Christians. No, he's an idiot with a billboard. If he's wrong, he's wrong. So what? The entire religious faith isn't based around every one of them being right all the time. In fact, most of them aren't even based around there even being a doomsday. Okay. Argument against God. Creationism, more like retardedism. Fuck you, that's just as bad as evolution. It's immature, stupid, it's annoying, it's obnoxious, it's not a real argument. Shut up. Argument against the metaphysical. How come psychics don't win the lottery? Okay, first of all, like I said, psychic ability may exist, but just is not repeatable because we don't know what conditions need to be met. But let's just say that there is some sort of power that grants certain people psychic ability. Why would it give the power to win the lottery? I mean, suppose the messages are, suppose that the impressions that people are getting are coming from some sort of an intelligent controlling force. It's probably not going to let us use it to make money or for some kind of profit or personal gain. It's probably going to want us to use it for something selfless. Now you might say, well, why don't they let the psychic win the lottery and give it to charity? Well, maybe they weren't planning to. I don't know. Could be a lot of reasons. Or maybe just lottery numbers somehow just don't jive with psychics, Maybe they can only read minds, and the little balls bouncing around the things don't have minds to read. Who knows? Who knows? Argument against the soul. Brain damage causes memory loss. If you have a soul, then your memories should be indestructible. Your personality traits should be immutable until you decide to change them of your own free will. But yet, if you damage part of your brain, it changes your behavior, it changes your abilities, it changes everything about you, it makes you lose your memories. Okay, so that seems to prove once and for all that you are your brain, not a thing inhabiting your brain. Not really. Think about it. I have a laptop which I dropped, and I couldn't get any of my files out of it. My files are still in there. Remove the hard drive, I can get the files. Files are intact, I just couldn't retrieve them. So maybe when we suffer brain damage, maybe it's not that our memories and personality traits are being lost. Maybe it's just the retrieval mechanism that doesn't work. If a laptop is destroyed, like I said, maybe the files could be saved on a server somewhere. Okay, so if you repair the laptop, you can retrieve the files. If you can repair the brain, could you retrieve your memories? Well, there's really no way to test that with humans. But salamanders... I read about an experiment done with salamanders in which a salamander was taught to find food in a specific location, and he would know where to look for it. Then the salamander was given brain damage so that he would forget where the food was. When that damaged part of his brain grew back, because salamanders can regrow damaged body parts, he knew where the food was again. The memory grew back with the brain. And they have destroyed entire sections of the brain all over the brain, and every time the brain grows back, the memories come back too. So where the hell are those memories being stored? If they're not being stored in the brain, where are they? I don't know. But all I know is that brain damage doesn't seem to destroy memories in salamanders, so maybe it doesn't destroy them in humans. Maybe it's just destroying the retrieval mechanism. I said the secular one was going to come up again. Argument for God: the United States of America is a Christian nation founded on Christian principles. Argument against God: the United States of America is a secular nation founded on secular principles. Well, you're both kind of right and kind of wrong. Is it a Christian nation? Well, that depends on what you mean by Christian nation. If you mean, are there a lot of Christians that make up the majority of the population? Then, yeah. And, like Bill O'Reilly said, Christianity is not a religion. It's just a category that includes many religions. And that is true. And if you lump them all together, you're going to get a majority of the American population. And so you could say in that sense that we're a Christian nation. But if by Christian nation you mean a nation that actually carries out Christian principles and values like kindness and love and forgiveness and charity, then I think we fall a little bit short of that. But if you mean founded on Christian principles, hell no. No. First of all, the Declaration of Independence goes out of its way to avoid mentioning any specific religion. It talks about creator, nature's God, divine providence, kind of safe references, not really playing favorites. That was very deliberate. Constitution doesn't even mention God at all. So we're not really founded on Christian principles. Christian influence, perhaps, in the cultural sense, and about as much as, we're being influenced by the English language or having a history that involves Great Britain, or an even longer history involving the Roman Empire. All of these things were influential factors in what made our values, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're a specifically Christian nation. But as for being a secular nation, what do you mean by secular? If you mean secular as in having no religion, then certainly we're not that. But secular as in having many religions in which none is dominant, then yes, we are definitely that. In fact, we are explicitly that. The First Amendment even says that we're that. And a lot of people like to bring up the separation of church and state, say, oh, well, we can't have religion, there's separation of church and state. Let me explain something about the separation of church and state. The First Amendment says that there shall be no established religion and no prohibition of religion. Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or of the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment. There was a Baptist church at that time who said, wait a minute, we don't quite understand that. Could you clarify? Does this mean that we can't have a Baptist church anymore? And Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to the church saying, no. It just means that there's a line of separation between the church and the state that says that you can still have the churches. It's just that the state and the church are not really gonna overlap in any way. So really, that phrase, separation of church and state, was designed as a way of protecting religion, not banning it. So in that sense, separation of church and state is good for religion. And that's why I say, where the hell did that flag go? I was going to wave a little American flag, but I seem to have misplaced it. Yay, imaginary flag. Okay. Argument against God and religion, the Dark Ages. Technology was moving forward, society was moving forward, science was moving forward, Christianity showed up, bang, into the Dark Ages, and then until Christianity subsided, and then we got the Renaissance. So obviously Christianity is bad. Here's the problem. That's bullshit. First of all, Christianity was very powerful way before the Dark Ages happened, and pretty much in its height of popularity during the Renaissance. Shouldn't the Dark Ages have started with the dawn of Christianity and ended with the end of Christianity? Seems like it didn't. Second of all, the Dark Ages seem to be occurring mostly where the pagans were living. Most of the Christians were living out east in the Byzantine Empire, and they didn't have the Dark Ages. I mean, really, when you think about it, this is what happened. Try to reverse it, try to picture the map backwards. Here's the Byzantines. Here's the Western Romans. And here's the Western Europeans and the Nordic lands and the Vikings. We're looking at what's going on here. Rome fell. Now we're going to look at what's going on over here. Oh, look, they're less advanced. You just changed your position from a place where people were more advanced to a place where people were less advanced. I mean, that's like saying that Columbus set technology backwards because before Columbus set sail, we had sailing ships, and compasses, and magnetism, and astronomy. But then afterwards, we were living in teepees. You're just looking at a different geographical area, that's all. The Dark Ages were not... We didn't go backwards. We just shifted our attention from a more advanced region to a less advanced region. There really were no Dark Ages in that sense. Dark Ages is really an oversimplification of a very complex span of history. And finally, the last one. Argument for the existence of God, universal constants. Why is the gravitational constant the same everywhere in the universe? Why is the speed of light the same everywhere in the universe? Why is the Planck constant the same everywhere in the universe? Why is pi always the same? Well, first of all, pi is geometry, that's mathematics, that's pretty much immutable. You know, whether God makes it that way or not, that's what pi is going to be. But the speed of light. Is it the same everywhere? Certainly it's the same everywhere in the observable universe, but what about elsewhere? We don't really know. There could be a higher or lower density area of the Higgs field, someplace far beyond our ability to observe. We could be just like in a big blob of Higgs field that dissipates as we get someplace else. We don't know. And even if it is throughout the entire universe, what about parallel universes? They might have different speeds of light. They might have different gravitational constants. They might have different numbers of dimensions. They could have time moving in a different direction. Could be that all of these constants are just properties of this particular universe. The possibility which must be considered. Maybe these constants are just the thing that define this particular universe. Which means it doesn't have to be designed that way. But once again, this is going towards a more deist type of God, and don't really cover much of the other ones. Now, one of the here's one that I wanted to mention earlier, but I forgot to mention about the Bible being wrong. Some of the things that people specifically cite about the Bible being wrong is where it says that a whale is a fish and a bat is a bird. These are just translation errors, really. I mean, let's say I'm talking to a guy who doesn't speak English. I point to a fish and I say swimming. I point to a bird, I say flying. You know, swimming, flying. Then I point to a duck and I say swimming. He goes, no, that's a flying. You know, because he thinks that I said bird when I just said swimming. So in that sense, you know, that's the story of Jonah. People get into an argument. Was it a fish or a whale? And the Bible says it was a. People often think it was a whale, but in the Bible it says fish. Well, maybe we just translated it as fish. Okay, a really big fish. Maybe the word for fish is just the word for thing that swims. Maybe the word that we thought meant bird was just meant thing that flies. One of the big contradictions people like to bring up in the Bible is where it says, in Leviticus it says, never allow a witch to live. And then in the book of Samuel, you know, Saul goes and talks to a witch and isn't killing her. Why is that? Right, well, if you read it in the original Hebrew, they're using two completely different words. I don't remember exactly what the Hebrew words were, but in the thing that you shouldn't allow to live, they're describing something from another world, an ethereal being that invades and causes nothing but destruction. And in the book of Samuel, the word translates as a thing that's not really a supernatural thing, just a person using special powers and special gifts. So really, they're talking about two different things. They're talking about demons, not witches. I mean, translations could mean a lot. I mean, thou shalt not kill, and, you know, some translations says thou shalt not murder, which is more specific. You know, the flood covered the earth. What earth? The planet Earth, or just the earth that makes up this particular section of land? I mean, if you translate earth as land, you know, you just say, no, the flood covered the land. What land? This land. All the lands? No, just this land. In fact, in Revelations, the oldest known copy of Revelations, the number of the beast, is 616, not 666. So you really got to consider the translations. You know, if you're going to look for errors and contradictions in the Bible, you got to consider who was translating it more than you have to consider what the original authors were saying. So that's just something I wanted to bring up, just because I forgot to bring it up earlier when I was reading a little strip of paper on inaccuracies in the Bible. Alright, and I think that's all of them. Just one closing statement is, I think that pretty much the best reason to be an atheist is because you're practical. And I think the best reason to be religious is because you're an idealist. And in order for the world to work, we need practical people and idealists. We need idealists to tell us we can go to the moon, and we need practical people to tell us how to build a rocket. We need both. We need both, and we cannot just say, hey, the world's not going to work until we all agree. We need both. We need people who believe, and we need people who disbelieve. We need a mix. It's the only way it's ever going to work, and that is really the bottom line. I don't know if there's a God, neither do you, and if there's a God, then thank God that we don't know that there's a God, because we need to disagree in order to have the idealists and the practical people to work together to make things happen. That is the bottom line. I'm Shawn Ravenfire. Thank you, and have a good day.